Welcome to Real America's Pop Culture with your host, Adrian Gray.
Tonight on Real America's Pop Culture, we're breaking down the biggest stories in politics, pop culture, and everything in between. From Hollywood headlines to DC drama, we've got stories that matter most to patriots like you. And of course, the latest on President Trump. All this and more coming up right now on Real America's Pop Culture.
Rev family, it's time for Real America's Pop Culture.
Are you ready?
We're taking you places Hollywood would never go.
Let's make pop culture interesting again.
This is where Hollywood meets the heartland. Big name stars, real conversations, and no compromise.
I actually don't know anyone who's happy and has children.
That's simply not true.
We're talking to everyone, left, right,
And everyone in between.
We're taking you behind the scenes to show you real pop culture.
My way.
Big names, bold takes,
And zero filter.
Real America's Pop Culture with your host, Adrian Gray, starts right now.
This is Real America's Pop Culture. Welcome to Real America's Pop Culture. I'm your host, Adrian Gray, and first up, JoJo and Demi Lovato show us Biden's America versus Trump's America. Crackle Barrel goes woke and then goes back. Tom MacDonald drops "The Devil is a Democrat," and Chris Pratt slams Trump haters. All that and more, so let's get right into what's poppin'. This is What's Poppin'. This week I'm joined by host of Nightly Scroll, Hailey Corona. Hailey, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to start out by a contrasting story. So Biden's America versus Trump's America. And this story comes as JoJo and Demi Lovato are the latest to go viral with their videos showing their lifestyles. These lifestyle shifts have occurred very overtly from the Biden to Trump administration. Whether or not this is intentional, this is showing that pop stars are also making cultural shifts. So let's take a look.
I knew since I was little that I was never straight. I knew that.
I've had the revelation that I identify as non-binary. I'll officially be changing my pronouns to they, them.
Welcome, hey everyone, to the White House. I'd like to briefly answer some questions.
So I feel like this is one of those wild moments that definitely wasn't on my bingo card, but I'm happy to invite it. So JoJo Siwa in particular has also mentioned multiple times now that she was very pressured to basically come out with whatever her sexuality was at the time, and she even has that included in the new song that she has out. But I want to know your take, because obviously seeing Demi Lovato in this light is totally refreshing. She's married, she's making music again. But what's your take on this shift and what they're doing now?
Well, I don't know how much it has to do with Trump. Certainly we don't have trannies with their boobs out on the front lawn of the White House anymore. So that is great news. We love to see this return to normalcy, right? But I think that this has more to do with Hollywood and the LGBTQ community in general. I think what the left does really well, and they play into this, is anything goes. There are no rules. You can identify as this one day, that the next day. Men can be women and vice versa. So these Hollywood actresses, when there's nothing going on and they need to get their names in the headlines, their PR team is probably like, okay, all you have to do is identify as they, them. And because you're non-binary and everything is a spectrum and you're gender fluid, you can just go back whenever it's like opportunistic for you. So I actually don't think that these people believe in the they, them, non-binary stuff. I don't believe that JoJo Siwa was necessarily bisexual. I think, to your point, they were pressured to do this for whatever reason. I think Hollywood pressures a lot of these young celebrities, pop stars, actors, actresses to identify as something that they're not. They force them to be sexual before is appropriate. So it makes sense that they identify as these things. They have these teams of people behind them that force them into this. And then, oops, they could just go back whenever, the headline's over, they sold the album or whatever, and then it's all done.
Yeah, I definitely think it's interesting. I think we also see culture shift a lot, again, with the pop stars, and a lot of people have albums out right now that have an Americana feel. But I want to get to this next story because you have made waves on social media about this. So earlier this week, Crackle Barrel ditched its iconic logo in a modern rebrand, and the internet was not having it. Stocks plunged, at losing $143 million in market value. So customers said it felt like a trendy liberal townhouse. And even Steak and Shake came out calling them out, saying they were erasing the heritage. Social media wasn't loving it. A lot of people came out saying, hey, don't Bud Light my Crackle Barrel. And you know what? Even the president got involved and said, Crackle Barrel should go back to the old logo, admit mistake, and based on customer response, manage the company better than ever before. They had this marketing opportunity with millions of dollars. So why don't you go back? And Hailey, they went back. So can you talk to this? Because this is crazy. And also, like I tweeted earlier this week, MAGA was carrying Crackle Barrel on their back. So in order to do this logo change, it seems like, what's the base here? And I think a lot of people were not showing up. And whether you think it's silly or not, it's an interesting test of culture. So what's your take?
I absolutely think this is a culture win for MAGA and for President Trump. I think all of this whole thing started because the logo was really ugly. The rebrand was just objectively boring. It was uninspired. It looks very plain. There's nothing to it. And it's not indicative of the Cracker Barrel brand at all. If you've ever gone into a Cracker Barrel, you know that you walk in and there's a lot going on. And while the old logo has a lot going on, I think a lot of these modern graphic designers, they want to show this minimalistic thing. They don't want to go back to the old, but that is the Cracker Barrel brand. You walk into a Cracker Barrel, there's stuff everywhere. It's all over the walls. It's got that hometown Southern feel, and it's what people know and love. It's that Southern hospitality. So when you rip that away and you're left with this just corporate cold logo, people are seriously going to have a problem with it. And not only that, but they've been redoing and remodeling some of the insides of their Cracker Barrel. It seems like they don't want Cracker Barrel to look like Cracker Barrel anymore. So rightfully so, the customers who know and love the brand wanted this return. President Trump, apparently the deputy White House chief of staff, had a phone call with Cracker Barrel yesterday before they made this decision. And like you said, President Trump basically gave them free business advice on Truth Social saying, hey, you need to listen to your customers. That is all that matters. And the customers spoke, and apparently they had this phone call together and Cracker Barrel came to their senses. So I'm happy for them. I think this is definitely a win for MAGA.
I love it. I couldn't agree more, and it is a nice win. I personally got texted by my grandparents, so they were excited about it, and that made my heart smile. So I love it. I want to jump back to a story now. Gene Simmons. So he is the former member of KISS, and he made headlines because he had a take on transgender issues. Okay, he said in the Middle East you would be a was/were, meaning it wouldn't even be a debate, it would be a death sentence. So his comment spotlights the double standards that celebrities in America will attack traditional values but never call out countries that are far more extreme. And whether you love him or hate him, Gene has said the quiet part out loud. Let's take a look.
The sad part about they, them, which I fully support, I go on record all the time, I don't care how you define yourself, is if you go to certain parts of the Middle East and if you define yourself as they, them, you're going to be was, were.
So this clip, regardless of humor, right, it brings up an issue where a lot of these people find them at the epicenter of these protests of the Middle Eastern countries that clearly we see as like, hey, like if you were over there, I don't know, maybe they appreciate you cheering them on here, but if you were over there, they wouldn't welcome you with open arms. So I think it's an important discussion that this actually gets circulated. We have a lot going on, as you know, culturally with all the wars, but what's your take on this? And why do they end up campaigning for countries that wouldn't accept them?
The irony is completely lost on them. The leftists have sided with Palestine largely, and it's just because they want to see an end to the war, which I think we can all agree with. I mean, we don't want to fund these endless wars. We want people to be safe. But of course, we have to fight back against terrorism as well. And what we're seeing on the left is that we're having these groups called Queers for Palestine, and they're showing their support. The irony is completely lost on them that Israel is one of the only countries, aside from maybe Turkey and Lebanon, that support gay marriage and homosexuality at all, and Israel being chief among them, where they have pride parades and things like that. I mean, Israel, if you're talking about pride and LGBTQ values, that is the most similar to the United States of America. Meanwhile, they're hating on Israel, and the irony is lost on them. They just don't get it. I think they support it because it's anti-Trump, and that's what it all comes down to. It's their TDS, and that's everything that drives what they believe in.
Absolutely no. I couldn't agree with you more. But thank you, Hailey, for being on with me for What's Poppin'. We'll see you later in group chat. And so coming up, we'll get to the core of some hot topics in the brief. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back.